You struggle getting high runes in Diablo 2 Resurrected, so those rune words that take the high runes, the griefs, the enigmas, etc., they're completely out of the question for you. Well, I got a great build for you today. We're taking a look at for a build guide and showcase of the budget Fury Druid. Let me know if this is one of your favorite builds in the comments. Don't forget the like button and subscribe up as we jump into the video. The first thing we'll look at is the stats page. Now, in general for this, the dex and strength, you want to put just enough to wear your gear. Now, these numbers look really high, and I'll explain why they're high when we go ahead and look at the gear in a minute. I have enough strength and dex to wear a variety of different options just to go ahead and show you different, a bunch of different variable options that you can use on the Fury Druid, because when you're budget, you kind of use what you can get your hands on. Now, having this much strength and dex, if you have one of the weapons that take the most requirements, you will see a little bit of a problem here. The vitality number is incredibly low, and it leaves you with a very low health number. So if you want to see where I kind of end up recommending where you want to have this, it depends on what you want to use for your own fun, and then what you think is actually going to be best based upon how much strength and dex you want to wear. So right now, this isn't like the most representative of what you necessarily want to do, but if you have one of those weapon bases, like I said, that have the real high requirements, this is kind of what it's going to look like. But kind of just like any build in Diablo 2 Resurrected, a vast majority anyways, just enough dex and strength to wear your gear, and you want to put all the rest into vitality. Over on the skill trees, the elemental, super easy, don't put nothing into that one. A lot's going to be going into shapeshifting right here because you want to max out several skills over here. So of course we're going to be a werewolf if we are a Fury Druid, so max out werewolf. You want to go ahead and max out lycanthropy because as a werewolf wolf and werebear, you will get extra max life and duration. We're just going to be the wolf on this build when you're budget like this for sure. So we went ahead and max that out anyways to get at least a lot more life. So instead of having 692, just under 700, after we turn into a werewolf, it will be a little bit higher, which, survivability on a budget build can be a little bit of a struggle. First, we'll take a look down at the bottom here. You want to get all the way down to the bottom, max out Fury, of course, because we're a Fury Druid. So this is your main damage dealing skill, so of course we want that capped out. But there is another one here we want to go ahead and cap out, and that's actually Feral Rage right here. Now, when you land a few hits, probably right when you go out there, you want to land probably 5, 6, 7 hits, and what it does is you get a glowing orb spinning around you, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it'll cap out at giving you, with this max out anyways, 250% attack rating. You actually get 19% to 57% there. For the run walk speed, lifesteal all the way up to 104% lifesteal. You're going to stealing back more life than the amount of damage you're doing. But it also does boost up 165% on the damage. So these are all things that are great. You just got to land some blows. It'll spin around you for 20 seconds. And then all you have to do is land one blow before that 20 seconds runs out. And it resets the timer. And the glowing orb that's flying around you will stay at its maximum size, capacity, whatever you want to go ahead and call it. So you don't have to hit 6, 7, 8 times in a row again to get it fully up to size. You just got to land one blow before the 20 seconds runs out, and it resets it to 20. So pretty much every pack you come along, hit them one time with Feral Rage before the ball goes away, and then slap them with the Fury is kind of the general strat there. Over on the summoning here, depending if you're late game and have great gear or you're mega budget, it's going to kind of change what you want to do. And, obviously you have your own opinion, do what you want. But I find early on here, because you don't have a ton of skill points, maybe you're not super high level, actually getting more life with Oak Sage is vastly more important than if you're an end game with the best gear, you want to deal the most damage, go with Heart of the Wolverine, increasing the damage you see down there, of course, increasing the attack rating as well. But what I found is the survivability on a budget or mega budget Fury Druid, you're up there getting beat down. You really need more life, especially since you're using so many points as a budget character into the strength in order to wear your gear. So if you have that weapon that has 180 to strength required, you got to put all those points into it, because you don't have something like Enigma that gives you like 100 strength. You don't have any other items that give you a ton of strength. You're using whatever you can find, whatever you got. So you're wasting, not wasting, but having to use a bunch of points into strength and dex and not putting them all into vitality. So I'm going with Oak Sage personally, and I put all of my remaining points into here. If you want to get out more damage and you survive fine, if your gear is good enough, you can go ahead and put your remaining points, or if you can, max out Heart of the Wolverine as well. Now, I decided to go 1 point down to the Summon Grizzly as well. The survivability here is going to be hit or miss depending on what you're going after, with just the 1 point wonder into it pretty much. But you know, at least for that, you can go ahead and throw it out in front of you, and I'll just kind of use it like a clay golem almost. You know it's going to die pretty quick, but it'll distract them for a minute or two while you can go ahead and take care of whatever you need to do. Now, everyone's favorite, and this is going to take a while because I have so many different gear options I want to go ahead and show you, but we're taking a look at the gear first, and I'm going to go over several different options. Some of them are just kind of for fun if that's kind of what you want to do on a Fury Druid, and then I'll kind of go over the ones that I mostly recommend you kind of hunt for or try to make, or whatever you want to call it. So we're actually going to start off with everything but the weapon, and then we'll get to the weapons last. So up on the top here, I got Jalal's. Bunch of other little options if you find along the way. You could go with a Shaco or, you know, whatever, even a, you know, a bunch of other things. But a great rune word to make early on is a Bulwark. You can also make this in Druid pelts to get extra skills as well, but this one's just in a regular right here helmet. It's a death mask. The damage reduction and stuff on there absolutely helps you out, the hit recovery. Now on the armor, I went ahead, put together a hustle right here, Shale, Poe, Eld. Get the walk run, you get the attack speed, a little bit of all resin stuff there too. You got the evade, I suppose, as well. Other options, you can go ahead and go with the treachery. It's always nice to get faded, if you know what I mean. Get your resistances and physical resistance up there. It's kind of the same reason you want to use this on an Act 2 mercenary when your budget. It does take a Lem rune. It is a mid rune. You can usually find your way into getting one of those, but also a bunch of increased attack speed and a bunch of hit recovery. So that's another great option. Or maybe just find a shaft stop just for the survivability with the life, the defense, and the physical damage reduction. Over on the gloves, laying of hands I feel aren't too hard to find, and there aren't really a crazy ton of options over here. Pretty much anything that has increased attack speed is going to kind of be your best option, but the 350 damage to demons, you got the fire res on there as well. Laying of hands, pretty cheap. You can find them pretty readily. Beyond that, it's just any rare gloves, maybe, you know, a few different other little options like that. Super important on any melee character is getting cannot be frozen. So one way we can get it is right here, and when we get to the belt, I'll talk about another one, but Ravenfrost, a clutch option. On the other ring, I went ahead and got a Mana Leech ring, just a random Mana Leech ring that I could find. This is the only spot of Mana Leech I have in this character, and it's kind of important to go ahead and get that as well, just so as you're slowly going through the mana, it doesn't fully run out on you. You can leech some of that back. You could go ahead, if you need to get Life Leech or anything else, you can make that up on the ring as well, if by some way you do get Mana Leech somewhere else. String of Ears is a cheap option. Damage reduction, you got Life Leech on there. You already have a ton of Life Leech anyways, but hey, you got a little bit more. We're pretty much wearing this for the damage reduction. Another option on the belt, Verdungos, since you don't really need the Life Leech, so maybe Dungos could actually be a better choice, to be honest. I would probably swap that on since we don't need the Life Leech. You hit recovery, a bunch of vitality, a bunch of maximum stamina. Oh, that's a joke. Maximum stamina is pointless, but if you do not get cannot be frozen any other way, if you find yourself a Trang's belt, you got mana, you got life, and you got cannot be frozen. You need. It is painful to play if you do not have cannot be frozen on a melee character. Over on the boots, I got Gore Riders. They're in the middle. They're not the hardest to find, but they're pretty good. They're probably best in slot for a Fury Druid. Goblin Toes are another option I don't have on me right now. Besides that, you're throwing some random ass rare boots on here or something, you know, some magic boots that have walk run or something. Not a crazy ton of options. Natalia's boots, different little set pieces like that, but Gore Rider is about the best in slot, and they're not that expensive to trade for and not too hard to find. Up here, I got a Cat's Eye. This for the walk run and increased attack speed. Does have a bunch of decks as well that can help you out. Another option that is a little bit hard to find, a little more expensive to trade for, not insane or anything, but High Lords is probably the next best up with the increased attack speed. You got a bunch of Deadly Strike, which is huge. The $1 skills, of course. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the weapons. And first off, I'm going to go with some fun options that you could go ahead and try. These are mostly uniques with one rune word. The first one we'll take a look at is actually this one right here, and it's actually Unbending Will. It's a new rune word to Diablo 2 Resurrected anyways. Now, the limiting factor here usually is getting your hands on the six-socketed Colossus Blade. You can make it in other things too, but getting a six-socketed sword here to put it in is kind of a struggle early on, because by the time you find a six-socketed sword to put it in, you can usually make something better. But you can look and see all the good stuff that's on there. The strength requirement up at 152, dex requirement at 88. So that is important to know, because that decides how much vitality you can end up having. Another one, and this is going to be a limiting factor, this is an Ogrimal Bone Snap. I upped it so that it would get more damage, put a shale in it, but you look at the strength requirement, 225. Oof. So that's going to limit how much vitality you can have, a ton, just an absolute ton. but it is a fun, interesting choice, I suppose, if you want to stick with the unique. To show a few other uniques you can go ahead and use, Schmidt's Reaver, almost 500 damage there. It is based upon your character level, and this character I just randomly got was level 90. Unfortunately, no crushing blow, but the strength requirement's only 167, so a little bit lower than the other ones you see there, quite a bit lower than the upped bone snap. Now one with a super high strength requirement, but a fun one to look at here and go ahead and use. We got the Cranium Basher. This one's the first one tipping over 600 damage. It also has 75% chance of crushing blow and amp damage on striking. So this is all crazy stuff to help you out, but oof, look at the strength requirement, 253. That's why we have such low vitality. And honestly, some of the other options I'll take a look at in a minute are probably going to be better options because they're going to have much lower requirements to give you some vitality. But another one right here, a fun one, Executioner's Justice, another fun unique. Slap a shale in it, get some more increased attack speed. Decrepify, 50% on killing a monster, so not helping you against Diablo and stuff. But if you're going against Eldritch and Shank, stuff like that, you take out a monster or two, kind of covers some of the pack. It's got a good amount of crushing blow there. Another fun one, love the name too. Cranium Basher and Executioner's Justice, probably my top two favorite names of items in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Now, here's like a more realistic start. This is more so of just like, if you find one of these uniques, could be fun to use. These are the weapons that you're probably going to be sort of your progression or ones that you want to strive for. First off, right off the bat, don't sleep on. Yeah, you're looking at it right here, an Insight. This one is in an elite base. And remember, you want to have an ethereal for your mercenary, but you don't want to have an ethereal one on your character because it'll break in short order. But even this, just for a Ral tier Tell Soul, you got almost 550, it's 540 there, maximum damage. So other things on there, of course, that can help you out. You have the critical strike, and just really this one's mainly about the damage amount. Even if you went ahead and made your first one of these in one of the mid-range weapons, we'll say something like a Bill, that's, you know, between the Volge and the Colossus Volge, there's the Bill. Even if you make your first one in that, it's probably going to be your best option super early on, really cheap with the right there. Once you go ahead and get yourself a better weapon, throw this over on the Mercenary, you got an Insight over there as well, helping out your Mercenary, and then you can go ahead and get a better weapon. Now, these next three are going to be probably the three you want to strive for, depending on what you want to go for. The very first one is a unique, and we actually got an upped Rib Cracker right here, and we went ahead and socketed it with a Shell Rune. That's how we get that insane 70% increase attack speed, hit recovery it's got there. It's got 50% chance of crushing blow. So this one attacks super fast. You really want to upgrade this if you can to the Stalagmite instead of whatever the other one is. I forget what the lower level of this is, but you'll see it when you get it. So this is one of the best budget options. It does take a mid rune. I believe it was a Lem to up along with a Co and a Diamond. Could be wrong on that. Look up the cube recipe to go ahead and up it. But that is a absolutely spectacular option. Next one is one of the most popular to use on a Fury Druid. And this is actually an Death Decapitator. Now, the reason that people use this, look at how high that maximum damage is. Over 1,000. Holy moly. This does take actually a high rune and a mid rune. If you can get your hands on that Vex, I know kind of the start of the video I said if you can't get any high runes, but this one is so spectacular. Maybe this could be a goal item for you if you're somebody who struggles to get any high runes at all. This could be a goal item for you. But the Ethereal Decapitator, if you have a standard Decapitator that's ethereal and you take it to Larzik, you will get 5 sockets. It's one of the main reasons that people use the Decapitator to go ahead and use on the Fury Druid. It is, you know, it does have the fast attack speed on the base, and like I said, the amount of damage, but this is absolutely spectacular. This one is a crazy good rolled anyways, but the Crushing Blow, the Deadly Strike, so much great stuff here on the Ethereal Decapitator Death right there. And you can make Death in other items as well. It doesn't have to be the Decapitator, but I would highly recommend, if you make a Death, definitely at least spend the time and the effort to get yourself an Ethereal base. The damage goes up so much higher, and it's indestructible anyways. Another option, a kind of a go-to budget option for a ton of melee characters here on this Rune Root, and this is Oath. I went ahead and put this in a Bullrog Blade, another very common one to go ahead and make it in the base, I mean, because if you find an Ethereal Bullrog Blade, you take it over to Larzik, it'll get 4 sockets every time. So that's why a lot of people go with the Bullrog Blade. 50% increased attack speed. It's got a bunch of damage. You see this one's almost up to 750 on this one right here. And several other things, damage to demons and stuff. But this is a pretty dang good option. And it only takes mid runes. Pull, Mal, like Shale, Pull, Mal, Lum right there. So no high runes to speak of just all mid runes, just all stuff that people could get from their hell forges and stuff like that, or running the Countess. So right there, a great option. And now the last piece, what do you throw on the mercenary? Kind of for a lot of melee characters, we're going with the might mercenary here to get more damage. And I wouldn't feel bad if you need to. If you're struggling to survive, maybe dealing more damage isn't the play. Maybe you want to go with the Holy Free Zora. It's going to depend, but I would say probably for 80-90% of people, you're going to want to go with the might one. I feel like the extra damage is good to get in this particular situation. If you can get your hands on it, if you can. Reaper's Toll over here is going to be clutch, so when you come across anything that's immune to physical, you get the level 1 Decrepify that'll go ahead and break that. It also is just a great weapon for the mercenary to deal out damage as well. Up here we got a cheap budget option, Bulwark, and we have a Treachery right here for the obvious reasons, the attack speed and the fade. Obviously other options for the mercenary, if you can't get a Reaper's Toll yet, just go with the Insight, the standard, super cheap, get a good amount of damage there over on your Act 2 mercenary. Alrighty, we got this Rib Cracker on here, and let's go ahead and jump out and see what this budget Fury Druid can do. Now, we're obviously on Players 1. We are a mega budget character here, so let's go out, get some monsters, hit them with some Feral Rages, and you see the red ball pop up, and now we're swing, swing, swing. And, I mean, considering this is how budget it is, I mean, it's pretty quick. These Blunderborns actually have a lot of life, so it's actually just like 1 or 2 hits there are chopping them out. Honestly, like, I cannot complain with a melee character in Diablo 2 Resurrected taking stuff out that fast. There's Eldritch, now we're down to the Shank Pack, and we'll just keep swinging away. Pretty dang good. Like, look at how fast it is chopping these guys out. Here's a good view here at Shank. Man, that really does chop them out pretty dang quick. So, yeah, don't sleep on that Fury Druid, but let's test it out in, you know, maybe a little bit harder areas. Of course, a classic place to go here is in the Chaos Sanctuary. So, swing, and once again, I'm just doing this on P1, and I don't remember if I mentioned it, but we are rocking the Rib Cracker, the upper Rib Cracker right now. So, swings, you see my Oak Sage got taken out, unfortunate. That's going to happen. Super budget here, and the Mercenary is actually getting hit quite a bit, but you notice surviving pretty good. He's surviving okay. And yes, I know this is not the Mosaic Assassin. This is actually a normal character in Diablo 2 Resurrected. And melee characters are kind of known for being slightly slower than casters generally. And also remember how budget this gear is. There are no high runes on this build at all. None. It doesn't take any. So I think it works pretty dang good if you want to get out there, slaying some monsters, you yourself, or maybe with some buddies and stuff. Working pretty good, working really good. Let's go ahead and switch and try some of the other options. Like, let's go ahead and switch over to the Ethereal Death. And there we go. Let's see how it goes. Get our Feral Rage spun up first. A few of those swings and pop. This one does take a high rune, so do remember that. It's not quite as cheap as a lot of other stuff, but whew, man, this thing does hit hard. It is, of course, double the damage that is actually on the Rib Cracker. You can notice it's slightly slower on the attack speed, but man, it hits so hard with this 1,000 maximum damage. This is a really fun build to play, and man, this Ethereal Death is no joke. Let's see how this little pack goes out. It's one of the easier Seal Boss packs here, but double 2-tapped Vizier there. Let's go ahead and try out the other one. Let's try out the Oath. Slap that on, and I think it's going to be a little bit slower than the Death, but let's see. Once again, get our Feral Rage wound up here. And wow, the attack speed on the Bullrug Blade appears to be slower than even the Death was, which I'm a little bit surprised, but I guess I didn't know the base for sure. It does pretty solid damage there. I didn't take a look at the minimum damage, but wow, it's even almost one-hitting some stuff. Oak Sage is gone. Can bring that one back. You got to keep an eye on him because they have almost no health, so if they drift up in front of you at any point, you're going to have a bad time. But yeah, even this Oath is working really dang good too. Now this is one of the scarier packs in the game. Ooh, it's hitting hard, so their survivability to just face tank the Desace group maybe isn't quite there, but you can absolutely do it. Just play it safe, And I will note as well that 2,600 life over there with the Oak Sage up, there's no call to arms. That's also with the stats having 255 strength in over here. Really what I'd recommend is having this stuff lower, but I had it in for example purposes to go ahead and use all those different weapons. But if you go ahead and settle on one like the Oath, you only have 175 strength requirements. So you could have hundreds, probably 3k health, no problem with this one right here. All right, now one of the harder of the Seal Boss groups right here. They deal out quite a bit of damage. And I went ahead and threw on the Ethereal Death because it was kind of the funnest one to use. And man, look at that damage. Now let's see how it works against Diablo here. That fire does a lot of damage, but wow! That was quick. There's so much damage on this sucker, and Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike and things like that. Holy smokes. Did that chop out Diablo quick.